Yeah.
Let's go start.
Good morning. Real tight in here.
I was just telling them how you perceive.
Oh my God, me and Chuck. This 96-year-old person, he got more swag on that artist. He's like, I don't know, we just hung out. You're at the evening. And I was like, Chuck, I know. And he said, hi. And he's just like, oh, I took the bus, girl. Like, I'm like, Chuck, but the bus is outside. He really did.
Oh yeah, like old school.
Old school, like in a nice way. So I went out to Eric. Like, and Eric's like, I'm sorry, I go to Chuck, I'm like, Eric, go find the bus. And old Chuck and I are just like walking outside. He's like, this. It was crazy. They were up there like, dang, I got going.
And then I was like, how's it getting home from the bus? She's like, that's about right.
I was like, I don't know, he got there. I don't know.
I'm not sure about that.
It was hilarious. And the way Eric lands on buses to try to,
I thought
Eric's like,
Polo went.
yeah.
First bus.
And you're like, Emily, yeah, well, it is. And you guys, oh, and I don't know if Chuck had a few drinks.
Oh, we did.
He was like,
I'm 96.
oh, he was walking home and telling me how he's so good in the army.
I know.
He was so amazing. He was sharp. He just didn't know he was young buck. Yeah. And hang out. I don't know.
We can talk about that. I got it all.
But also,
Really know what's going on.
oh my God, so funny. And I think about it myself. I know. And I'm like, I got one down, really one down. But he was so, it's really, I didn't even talk to him. He was really nice. You know, it's just, people make him
Too much.
I know. He was so, and even Robin from my staff was like, when we came on the bus, she was like, any place in Ireland, you were there, what? I was like, thank you, Chuck. I was like, Chuck. It's like, but that's what we see on the news. Like, like 96, like a young, you know, like, some of the things that we work on from you. You remember when the bus was seeing how people felt. Yeah, but he was a nice guy. Poor thing. Poor Chuck. I'm never going to get over it. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, yeah. So, about me?
join us? We're gonna go ahead and get started, but I'll give you guys a minute and then you guys can, Pete, you can let me know when everyone's ready to go. We're good? Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Councilman Crystal Orieva. I have the pleasure of representing District 7, but also serving as the chair of the County Council. And here we are today, standing in support of our immigrant community. We have a package of bills that we've been working on to focus on issues around ICE. When we did our listening tour, we went to the north, central, and southern part of the county. And one of the issues that came up at every single session was, what are we going to do about ICE? What are we going to do to stand up for our community? And I promised then that we would work on a package of bills. We'd work with our colleagues on what we could do. So we put a team together. We asked our lawyers, our policy experts to look at what they're doing across the country to see what are the best things we could do here in Prince George's County, understanding that sometimes we're going to push the needle on this issue. But the reality is that we're willing to fight and push the needle on this issue because this is a values issue in Prince George's County. So we're going to hear today from the other lead sponsors on the 6 pieces of bills and resolutions. We're going to hear from the executive director of CASA, and we're going to also hear from a directly impacted resident here in Prince George's County. I'll start by talking about one of the bills I have an honor of leading on, and it's one of the bills to make sure that our residents know that they have the right to call 911. The reality is, what's happening is kidnapping. And we have masked people in our community. They won't identify themselves sometimes. They are masked, and they're just grabbing individuals. And there's a fear that someone could be radical. They could be and have no correlation at all even to the federal government, and there's a fear that they could also take their loved one. So what this legislation does is make it clear that you can call 911, that the police will come out, they will ask those key questions. We understand that the federal government, these ICE agents might not comply, but then there's a key point that they're going to track the data. And they're also going to be responsible for giving those family and impacted people at that call information to direct services and support like CASA and all these amazing organizations that give legal aid and services. So we can have a rapid response that if you call 911 and they can give them that information so that they can call if they need legal assistance, they need a lawyer, they're not sure how to connect with the organizations on the ground, they can do that. We also have 5 other amazing pieces of legislation, but I'm going to pass it to my vice chair to talk about the legislation that he's leading on.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your leadership on this. We are united. You can see the council members here. We are united in protecting all of our residents here in Prince George's County. I have to say that every week in my community, in my district, I hear of a news story, a tragic story. Just this week I heard of a young boy, and his mother, and he loves to play soccer. His mother won't let him go outside to play soccer. And it's because the fear that is endemic throughout our community, coming down from the federal government. Why can't a child play outside? It's cruel. This is the cruel policies of this administration have to stop. We are working on, so the bill I'm sponsoring is to protect our community spaces. So all of our county land, making sure that no civil immigration enforcement can happen on that land, as well as a resolution urging our library system, our community college, our school system, and park and planning to do the same thing on the land that they own. We are united, and we are here for all of our residents. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next we'll be joined by Councilmember Fisher, then Councilmember Denoka. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Wanika Fisher. I'm an honor to serve as the council member for District 2. For those of you who know, my district has the largest Latino and immigrant population in Prince George's County. And so this really reigns home as this kind of activity is literally happening in front of my house. And I'm a daughter of immigrants, most importantly. My parents came to this country 40 years ago and built a life for me and my siblings, and I'm always grateful for the risks that they took to do that. And I have my aunt now has been able to acquire status, but my aunt was living in the United States for 20 years undocumented. So this legislation for me, all of the legislation and my colleagues' support is very personal. So I'm not going to be emotional as I talk about these bills, but it's hard to see your friends and family ripped away from the main thing they love, which is this country and the family and the businesses that they've built. It's very difficult. And I want to thank Madam Chair as I lead our health, human services, and public safety. These bills, even though they'll be heard in committee of the whole, we've been working tirelessly for. I want to first start out talking about CB 8, and I want to recognize Councilwoman Begay and Councilwoman Ivy. There's been tons of bills the last 2 years trying to focus on the prohibition of facial coverings in our law enforcement. This bill will be addressing that, and for federal agents to identify themselves. I want to also put out there, our law enforcement here in Prince George's County does the right thing. The only time they use a facial covering is when it's a biohazard or they're out in the cold for a long period of time. And so we want to recognize them. And I really want to recognize that when we talk about ICE, we're talking about a masked militia by an oligarch. I'm not talking about law enforcement. The amount of training that our law enforcement goes through is just unparalleled. To 3 hours, you get a badge and a gun. So I just want us to be really clear as we're reporting what we're talking about. The other bill that I want to just highlight to you all is CR 9, which is a resolution concerning the accounting of ICE detainees. Information is power. And what's really difficult right now with the current administration is that we can't pull how many people have been basically, I'm going to say it, kidnapped and put into human trafficking by the federal government. And so this is going to allow us to partner with nonprofits like CASA and others to actually have a tracking system of people that are taken by ICE detainees so we can have information housed about where our county stands. So I appreciate you on that. I will hold my time and pass it back to Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here, and I want to thank my colleagues for standing up and being united on this issue. I want to start by pointing out just a current example of how our president is making our lives of our constituents less safe. I think many of you know that there was a large gas explosion in my council district in Beltsville Friday night. Washington Gas has to go to each unit to restart their burner. So there's over 1,000 burners that need to be turned back on, and many of these are in apartment buildings with immigrants that live there. People are afraid to answer the door. So we have over 500 people without power on one of the coldest days so far this year. And we had snow yesterday. They've been without power for several days. This is the type of consequences you get when you instill fear in a population. That's not making anybody safer. And because you're in an apartment building, I did not know this about Washington Gas and how this works, but they can't turn on the power for you until they get the power on for them, because there's air in the pipes in the system. So not being able to get to all the units is having a dramatic impact on a whole host of a number of people. And we have very upset residents, as they should be. So this is just a sample of what's going on literally today. What I propose CB5, I've been talking about this for a while. This basically says if you want to work for an armed militia or work in support of an armed militia, we don't think you have the values that we want in county government. It's as simple as that. The bill is designed to say if you worked for ICE or the Customs and Border Protection and you left, that you realized that this was an armed militia that you did not want to participate in, much like we've had many federal employees, particularly people in the Office of the Attorney General and other agencies who said, I cannot work and support this administration. Well, then, we want those people. But if you want to continue working there, knowing what's going on and what your colleagues and other employees are doing, then maybe this is not the best location for you for future employment. So that's essentially what it does. And with that, I'll turn it back to the chair.
Thank you. Next, I want to hear, or we're going to hear, excuse me, from CASA, and then an impacted member of the community, and then we'll end with any of the other council members that want to give remarks in support of our ICE package today.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you so much to the council. My name is George Escobar. I am the Executive Director at We Are CASA, and I'm proud to be here among this leadership. On behalf of our 35,000 plus community members who call Prince George's their home, I just want to let you know that we are in full support of this legislative package. You know, CASA has been organizing and providing services in Prince George's County for decades. Our national headquarters is in Langley Park, the breathing like heart and soul of the immigrant community. This is our home. But right now, every day we're benefited from our work to see the strength and resilience of our community every day. We see them. We see how our immigrant community contributes to our economy, to our society, to everything that makes Prince George's County great. We see them buying new houses, new homes, planning for their future and their families for decades. We see how they open up small businesses. We see how children of immigrants attend nearby University of Maryland, a neighbor of Langley Park, right? We even see those members up on this stage here today who decide to run for office and provide leadership in our county, and we're proud to see them here. But right now, fear and uncertainty hangs over our community. Parents are afraid to leave their homes. Students are afraid to come home from school for fear of not seeing their parents when they arrive. Workers skip shifts because of rumors or fear of a workplace raid. And families are doing the unthinkable, creating emergency plans and trying to figure out who's going to take care of their children if they are separated from their families. Now, imagine if you're that parent. And this is what we're seeing on our streets every day. We're seeing warrantless arrests. We're seeing inhumane enforcement. We're literally seeing a militia, has been spoken about earlier today, with high-powered weapons pointed at our neighbors, at our families, at our children. Neighbors like Kilmar Abrego Garcia, we all know his story, right? He was abducted in front of his child, taking his child home from school, and deported to a maximum security facility in a country, El Salvador, from which he had protection from deportation. Neighbors like Rabiatu Kuyate, whose son Mohammed is here with us today, and we'll talk about his story. But Rabiatu was a beloved mother and grandmother of Prince George's County, a nurse who had lived for decades in the county, right? Kilmar and Rabiatu are why this legislative package matters, right? Because over the past several weeks, we have seen how this militia is gathering force, right? We have seen how they are beginning to purchase property and beginning to prepare a bigger detention centers and beginning to prepare a bigger footprint in our community. We are preparing for the fact that their presence will be multiple times what we're used to and what led to the stories of Rabiatu and Kilmar. This is why this package matters, right? What will the history books say about the history of Prince George's County at this moment, right? Will they write that we are standing by and collaborating with the fascist regime? Or will they write that this leadership is doing everything in their power to stand with our community and fight this regime? This is why this package matters, right? This package matters because we're seeing our leadership stand up for our community, making sure that they are in line and supporting and treating our immigrant community with the dignity that it deserves. This is why this package matters, because they are saying loud and clear that we will not collaborate with ICE, and our immigrant community matters. So for that and many more reasons, I'm deeply grateful for the leadership we have seen from your entire county council here. We have seen how united they are, everybody across, and representing every district, every at-large city. We're deeply grateful, and this is why CASA is in full support of this legislative package. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm proud to be here today supporting the Prince George's County Council standing up and taking action. My name is Muhammad Al-Ghali. I actually live about 7 minutes down the street from this council building. I'm a community advocate, and most importantly, I'm the son of Rabiatu Kuyate. For those of you who don't know my mom or her story, my mother fled Sierra Leone in the 1990s after surviving torture and political persecution during a brutal civil war. She came to this country seeking safety and dignity, and she gave back every single day. For more than 25 years, she served Maryland as a licensed practical nurse. She cared for our elderly, our sick, our neighbors. She even served on the front line during the COVID-19 epidemic, and she actually contacted the virus twice. She believed in service, she believed in community, and she believed in this country, and she lived right here in Prince George's County in Bowie. Despite decades of contribution and a pending immigration application, my mother was detained during what was supposed to be an annual ICE check-in. She was shackled and taken from our family. The U.S. immigration judge ruled that she could not be deported to Sierra Leone because she faced credible threats of torture, and yet she was forcibly removed anyway. First to Ghana, a country where we have never been to, where we, have no connections, and then she was ultimately forced back to Sierra Leone just 5 days later. Many people saw the video of her crying, "I'm not going," as officers dragged her away. For the country, it was a shocking headline, but for me, it was my mother. What happened to her is not just a tragic mistake, it's a symptom of a system that too often operates without transparency, without compassion, and without accountability, and families like mine pay the price. That's why I stand here today in support of this package of immigration bills. Local governments have a responsibility to ensure that our policies reflect our values. Prince George's County can send a clear message. We will not turn our backs on the very people who care for our communities, pay taxes, raise families, and strengthen our neighborhoods. These bills are about due process, they're about dignity, they're about preventing unnecessary family separation. And they're about making sure that what happened to my mother does not happen to another family here. My mother taught me resilience, she taught me faith, and she taught me that when you see injustice, you don't stay silent. Today I'm honoring her by asking everyone here to support these bills. Let's continue to fight for all of us. Thank you.
Lastly, we will hear from Councilmember Ivy and then Councilmember Legay.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jolene Ivy, at-large member of the County Council. And last Friday, I attended an ICE check-in with a young mother who has 3 children, and the youngest is a nursing baby. They told her to leave that baby at home for this check-in. And she has a regular asylum check-in this month in March. So it seemed pretty clear what their plans were. And Councilmember Kristen Mink from Montgomery County reached out to me because while the meeting was taking place in Montgomery County, she was our constituent. So I went, and it was scary for me, and I cannot imagine what that young mom was thinking. But with a lot of pressure and a lot of people we brought to the table, they did release her, but with a warning. They told her that no matter how big a group she brought next time, she was not safe. You know, the last time I remember people being afraid to leave their kids outside was during the Beltway sniper incident. And this seems so much more visceral. Just really hoping that this community will continue to build together, to work together, to fight against what is happening, and continue to support our immigrant community. Thank you.
I'm Walla Blagay, also at-large council member, and I want to just say I'm so proud to stand with my colleagues as we make this bold move. We are a community of immigrants. I'm a daughter of immigrants. Many of us stand here are daughters and sons of immigrants. And let me just say this. Right now, our community is, someone called me this morning and said that they are no longer coming to work. People are not coming to work. They are not showing up. Even employers are saying people are not coming to work. Imagine what that's doing to the family. Imagine what that's doing to bringing food in the house, to addressing necessities. People have said that they're not even going to hospitals, and they put a warning out last week, don't go to even an international food market because they're coming after us. People are scared to live their daily lives here because of ICE, and it is not fair. Because as noted, we're talking about nurses. One of the person I said they've been waiting for their application. So now they haven't heard anything. They stop processing applications, and you stop processing, and then you send ICE to someone's house to harass them. That was a nurse. So she's not going to work anymore. She's not there saving lives every day that she's been doing for years because she's afraid. She's afraid because she has 3 sons and she doesn't want anyone to snatch her up and impact her life. But she's not even making money to support her family. We are putting our families through torture right now. And I honestly would say I'm proud to stand with our council as we make a statement not in Prince George's County. So thank you.
Thank you. And so you've heard from representation from the council, from our community organizations, and directly impacted stakeholders. So we're here just to say this boldly and loudly and clearly, so there's no confusion, that ICE and their terrorist tactics have no place in Prince George's County.
Right.
And if there is a question about if we are going to be scared of this administration, of this so-called president, and their actions, the reality is it's our responsibility to hold the fear of our residents. They're fearful to live their daily lives. They're fearful to go outside. That is the fear that I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the fear I have for my father, who's not born in this country, and that I'm afraid for him to travel out of this country. That is what we care about. His threats mean nothing. His threats mean nothing. We are at war for the values and the morality of this country, and we will not be afraid. So thank you, and now I open it up for any questions. Yes?
Hey there, a couple. Police have reacted strongly, in particular, to the bill requiring PGPD to show up at ICE enforcement. One cop said absurd, another one said that just puts us in an untenable situation. Police really don't like this idea. That's the first question. Second question, the bill about not hiring people. The question about the constitutionality of that, discriminating against a class of government employees. So, police reaction and then the constitutionality of the hiring ban.
We feel confident about the hiring ban. You know, there was an opinion by the Attorney General asking about the constitutionality, and there is no constitutional threat. So we feel strongly that we have the right to say that if you do not align with the values and the morals to be an officer in this county or to work for the county, that we have the right to say you're not going to work here. And so we feel strongly about that. Tom, did you want to add anything?
Thank you. Just one legal point. Federal workers are not a protected class.
Right.
So if it was reviewed for constitutionality, you'd be using a lower standard of review. So we think that under that standard of review, we would prevail. So it's as simple as that from a constitutional standpoint. And the police.
Yes, and I understand. I spoke to the chief of police directly about this legislation. And I'm just going to be honest, right? I understand that it is a situation they might not want to be in. But we have residents putting their bodies and their lives in the line for their community and dying. That's not an exaggeration. That is the reality of the current state of this country. So there is a moral responsibility for the people that have training, that get a badge, to show up in uncomfortable situations. And what I find absurd is the reality that you're putting that responsibility on civilians. It's shameful. Question?
Yes, well, you kind of touched on speaking with Chief Nader in regards to the police bill. In regards to the other piece of legislation that you were putting out as far as making sure that ICE agents would be able to use county property, how would that be implemented in a day-to-day basis, given the fact that, you know, ICE is a federal agency and they do have jurisdiction on being able to move throughout different counties?
Yeah, so we've made it clear that through the executive order, and then this is codifying what the county executive has already said in her executive order, that we are not going to allow them to use our facilities to stand up any of these operations. It does nothing to impede if they have a actual warrant to go onto a property. So we made sure that the law is written in a way that it doesn't impede what they feel like they have the legal authority to do, but we've made it very clear that they don't just have the right to set up shop and just wait, because that's what they're doing, right? When we look at what they're doing at the grocery stores and other facilities, they're just setting up shop, seeing who can they grab. And what we're saying is that we're creating safe spaces at all of our county buildings, and we hope at our schools and our libraries and our recreation centers to say, you can come here, because we're not going to allow that to happen on our properties. Any other questions?
Can I go back to the police thing? So, listening to your response, you're asking the police essentially to take the place of what the protesters we saw in Minneapolis and hinder the operations of ICE?
No, I'm asking them to do their job, simply. Nothing more and nothing less. Any other? Yeah, go ahead.
I would just say, if someone is potentially being kidnapped, you need to be able to call 911 and have police show up.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you all for attending our press conference. And by the looks of it, I believe all of our legislation will pass committee today and pass here in Prince George's County. And I'm glad that we are united as a council and with the county executive and lockstep with even the state and the governor on this, that we are going to protect our immigrant population here in Prince George's County, because we realize that they matter too. And we are not going to live in fear of this administration. We are going to live in what's righteous and what's moral. And for me and my faith, what's godly and what's Christian-like. And what this administration is doing is the furthest thing from the faith that I believe in. So thank you.
That's right. That's right.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, okay. What do you want to see? Oh, okay.
Over here?
Okay.
Let's take a picture over here.
Right here. Oh, we can move it. Let's,
Yeah. Okay.
why they vote this person was, every time we have something. I don't know. Someone will put their hand up.
Oh, this is perfect, okay. Cell phone photos, go ahead, do your thing, and I'll go last.
Right here, please. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, right here. Okay, good.
Okay. Right here.